Alright everybody, how are we doing today? I wish I could say I felt good about this one, but the truth is I don't. From Rupley, it says, Hong Kong plunges into recession as months of violent protests take toll on the economy. Well, when you have a government that is constantly pushing them down and holding them back, and committing massive human rights violations left and right, of course the protests to the government are going to be violent. The Chinese government is absolutely horrifying. So the response, while possibly inappropriate, is highly understandable. Months of chaos have hurt Hong Kong's economy, which has now slid into recession, according to region's financial secretary, Paul Chan Mopo. Financial data set to be released by the government on Thursday shows that Hong Kong's economy faced 2 successive quarters of contraction, which is the technical definition of a recession. The official said in a blog post on Sunday, "The blow to our economy is comprehensive," the statement added. Moreover, Hong Kong may fail to post full-year growth in its gross domestic product, or GDP, and could even face its first annual economic contraction since 2009. The financial secretary warned back in 2009. The former British colony's GDP fell around 2.7% compared to the previous year in the wake of the global financial crisis. It seems it will be extremely difficult for us to reach full-year economic growth of 0 to 1%. I would not rule out the possibility that the full-year economic growth will be negative. Massive rallies, sparked by a withdrawn extradition bill, have been raging in China's self-governing territory for 5 months, and show no sign of relenting. The city saw multiple chaotic scenes on Sunday, with violent mobs blocking roads, setting shops on fire, and hurling petrol bombs. Police deployed tear gas and water cannons to disperse the crowd. That's also a favorite tactic in Europe. Hope no one lost an eye. The unrest took a toll on local businesses and banks as demonstrators mainly tried to attack entities linked to mainland China. The tourism sector has been one of the worst affected, as visitor arrivals tumbled almost 50% in the first 2 weeks of October, following a combined 39% drop in August and September. The dual effect of the U.S.-China trade war and civil unrest sank Hong Kong's exports, which were down 7% in September compared to the same period last year. Imports, meanwhile, fell by more than 10%. Notably, Hong Kong is an internationally recognized financial hub which attracts massive foreign investment. The ongoing unrest is likely to turn investors away, however. Hong Kong Financial Secretary Paul Chan Mopo called on various sectors to unite, stop damaging the city's infrastructure and hurting people with different political views. We must reject the concept of burning together, so that order can be restored in society as soon as possible. He wrote, referring to a popular protest slogan, "If you really love Hong Kong, our home, please set aside differences." So, the protests are turning in on themselves? Wouldn't be surprised if an Antifa cell had grown up out of this, if it has indeed made it all the way to China. But, you gotta understand, the historical precedents for this may not be immediately obvious. The Spanish-American War, that is the historical precedent for the protest. Cuba was not simply wanted to be a self-governing territory. It wanted full independence and was using America to mediate. Hong Kong has no mediator, but the goal is the same. It's a very similar situation, but there's no go-between mainland China and Hong Kong. They don't want to just be a self-governing territory. They want full independence, likely because they're sick and tired of the societal and economic controls used by mainland China. And I'm pretty sure people in Hong Kong have heard of the horror stories of live organ harvesting. They have every reason to want full and complete independence. They're not the only ones. Taiwan and Formosa also want that independence. And quite frankly, I think they should be allowed to have it. There's another historical precedent, one you might be overlooking. America! No taxation without representation. Remember that? If the grievance is legitimate, and I believe that it is, then we can't support mainland China. We have to support the independence movement, otherwise we are invalidating the history of our own nation. We had to do the same thing once upon a time. Or, well, not us specifically. Our forebears, our founding fathers. We're invalidating America's very origin, and thus its present-day existence, if we do not support a legitimate rebellion. Not illegitimate rebellions, of course, where the grievances are petty and stupid. This is not petty and stupid. Chinese oppression, both financial and social, is a big deal. Let's not forget that the social credit system is a thing. Though I will admit that these protests to Chinese government in Hong Kong has gone way, way too far. We're talking about firebombing shops, shutting down the entire country, sometimes even attacking each other over political disagreements. This shit's going to be over before it even gets to start if they don't come to a point where they can agree with each other on what is and is not acceptable. He's right. This dude, whatever his name was, Mopo, Paul Chan Mopo, was right when he says if you really love Hong Kong or home, please set aside differences. You be united in your movement, not divided. A house divided cannot stand. That is the simple reality of the matter. So as much as I would like to see the independence movement make actual progress and finally break away from China, if they don't cut this shit out and start being united and treat each other with dignity and respect, they're never going to have any independence. They'll be slaves forever. Anyway, peace.